The National Herald office is an office from where it was a corporate and publication office where the company was run from. It was a place where staff used to attend office on a daily basis, and that office has now been completely sealed. This is in a place called ITO in Delhi. For people not in Delhi watching India Today and are not familiar with the national capital, ITO is one of the most prime locations of Delhi. It's literally in the heart of the city, just a stone's throw from India Gate. The National Herald office has been sealed. The office of Young India Private Limited inside the National Herald office has been sealed. Okay, so it's not the entire National Herald office, it's the Young India Private Limited section of the National Herald office that has been sealed, is what we are told. Shreya Chatterjee back with an update. The important clarification coming in, Shreya. It's the Young India Private Limited part of the National Herald office which has apparently been sealed, Shreya.
Well, yes, Shiv, the information that we've received is that the office inside the National Herald House, this is not the entire premise that's been sealed. We know this is on the 4th floor where there's an office of Young India Private Limited which has been sealed by the Enforcement Directorate. We've also seen the visuals of the notice that's also been put outside that very office. Now, this is clearly coming after the investigation was ramped up by the Enforcement Directorate, where we saw that they questioned Rahul Gandhi for over 50 hours, and subsequently Sonia Gandhi was also called in for 4 days. And after that, we see that this is the investigation that has been taken in by the Enforcement Directorate, where they have sealed the Young India Private Limited office in the National Herald House. This is on the 4th floor, is what we do know. And simultaneously, we saw that security was also beefed up outside the AICC headquarters and 10 Janpad. This is an action that is following in after both the Gandhis were questioned by the agency in the National Herald case, because both of them were directors. And now we see that the Young India Private Limited office in the National Herald House has been sealed by the Enforcement Directorate.
Shreya, the sealing of an office, does that mean that something incriminating has been found inside? Is that the direct implication of sealing?
Well, yes.
Stay with me, Shreya. We have with us a Congress Member of Parliament, Karti Chidambaram, who was one of the petitioners in the Supreme Court on the Enforcement Directorate issue. Karti, welcome. The Enforcement Directorate has sealed a part of the National Herald office. Your first reactions on that? They say that no unauthorized entry to a part of the National Herald office will be allowed until further investigation.
The brazenness of the Enforcement Directorate has no limits. They will stoop to any depths to harass political opponents. The National Herald is an iconic newspaper which is part of the freedom struggle. For the government to use its hatchet agency in order to settle political scores against the principal opposition party has now turned its ire on the National Herald. And I'm not surprised by the arbitrary act of the ED, which has now only been emboldened by the recent verdict in the Supreme Court. But this will play out. It will play out in the public arena, and I'm sure it will also play out in the legal arena in the days to come. And I am telling you today, the ED will one day face the same fate as the SS did after World War II.
Karti, any further legal actions that you are contemplating? You were one of the petitioners against the Enforcement Directorate recently. Any other legal actions you're considering that you're mentioning right now?
Sure. I'm sure there are many legal avenues. Those will be decided by senior counsel and by people far more experienced than me in the law. But all I can tell you is that this matter is not fully settled. The arbitrariness of the ED will be taken on. Politically, publicly, legally, it will be taken on. I mean, the Constitution of India will have to prevail. And I'm sure this is not the last we have heard of this issue.
One final question, Karti. Since the Congress party, the Gandhis have said there is absolutely nothing to hide. Everything has been completely above board. There's been no wrongdoing. And the methods used by the Enforcement Directorate have been selective and malified. why not just let the process, continue? Because if the ED is wrong, if the government is wrong, it'll be there for everyone to see. That's one perception also.
The process does not require summons for long hours. The process does not require raids. These are all transactions which are captured in the books of accounts which have been filed in the income tax returns. So the records would speak for themselves. If the government and its agencies believe that these transactions are not kosher or according to the law, they can simply file a prosecution complaint and go through the prosecution instead of having these theatrics of raids, summons, and now sealing. Please listen. Please understand. The process does not require this high-handedness of the ED at all. Because the records speak for themselves. If the government does not agree with what the record says, they might as well go ahead and move ahead with the prosecution in the courts.
Karthi Chidambaram, thanks for speaking to India Today. This is a live developing story. These are live images coming to you from inside the National Herald office, even as a part of it is being sealed right now. Live pictures only on India Today of the inside of the National Herald house. This is right outside the actual office. India Today's Arvind Ojha is going to be live with me in just a moment. He's right there on the ground. You saw his name. That was a Zoom connection. And we will be going to him in just a moment. He's inside. Our crime bureau chief is inside National Herald House, getting you these live pictures just after the entire location has been sealed. It's an unfolding story here. There are likely to be protests outside the National Herald House. Security has been beefed up here, as well as outside the Congress headquarters. And we cannot identify the people on your screen, but that is a security guard, of course, for National Herald House. They're not allowing journalists in, which is totally okay, because the Enforcement Directorate has sealed a part of it. Let's listen in.
हम तो हमारी ड्यूटी है, हम तो रोकेंगे सर। क्यों रोकेंगे आप? ऐसा क्या कर दिया? मिला हुआ ऑर्डर से अप्रूव है। क्या ऑर्डर मिला? हम नौकरी नहीं कर रहे, नौकरी इन लोगों की कर रहे हैं। अरे तो बताइए ना, बताइए हमें कंपनी बना कर रहे हैं, क्या वजह है? क्या वजह है? वो हमें जो ऑर्डर मिला ऐसा ऊपर जाने से मीडिया को क्यों रोक रहे हैं आप? ऐसे अधिकारी आए थे, क्या वहाँ नोटिस सबका कर गए?
Okay, a bit of a fracas there between journalists and the security at National Herald House immediately after the Enforcement Directorate has gone ahead and sealed a part of this corporate office of the National Herald. The Congress party is likely to see this as a major escalation. You've just heard Karthi Chidambaram saying that this is another act of total brazen vendetta by the Enforcement Directorate at the orders of the Modi government. That's what the Congress says is happening, and these are live pictures coming to you from the very site of where that sealing has taken place at this point of time. Shreya Chatterjee continues to be with us. I'm going to bring in Arvind Ojha in just a moment. In the middle of your screen there is the paper notice that has been pasted inside the National Herald office, barring any unauthorized entry until the Enforcement Directorate unseals that location. So it's the Young India Ltd portion of the National Herald office that has been sealed at this point of time.